Hi, everybody. My name is Tammy Castrellon. I teach fourth grade bilingual at Emerson Elementary in the Pasco School District. Today, I will be covering competency 1B, which is candidates can explain how students' first language proficiency in listening, speaking, reading, and writing transfers to and supports English language acquisition. So first, I want to just start off talking about like first language and things that students bring into the classroom through their opportunities of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. I think students, the minute they walk into a classroom, they bring so many different experiences, so many listened to conversations, speaking engagements, opportunity to read or be read to, whether it's overhearing somebody read something to somebody else, seeing writing, being read to, all of that stuff. I think it's pretty amazing how we tend to not build off of that, right? And see that as a student asset. In terms of the article that we read about the language gap, I thought that from the teacher section in that, I thought it was just interesting to read what they said about the language gap, students coming in with another language, how just right away, many of them saw that as a deficit. So one of the teachers had said many students don't have a language, which I thought was just interesting in itself. I mean, when you think about language as a form of communication, and it doesn't even always have to be verbal. It could be through body language. It could be facial gestures. It could be sign language. I think there's so much that goes into language just as a form of communication. So saying students don't have a language when they enter in a classroom, I thought was not a good thing to say at all, right? And that just tells you some of those stereotypes that are out there. And also that that one teacher who said that she had done a lot of research around low income students or students living in poverty and how they come from noisy households. And, you know, when she was asked about where her research came from, she just said, oh, you know, and then that got me thinking about a bigger picture, right? Like, how many times do we receive training and just use it just put it away in like, okay, I already knew that, and I'm going to go to my classroom and, you know, keep doing that. And how many of us really use that opportunity to confront our biases and think about, I mean, everyone has a set of biases. I think seeing the way that these teachers looked at the deficit model instead of the asset model, I thought of how many times I saw something coming into the classroom as a deficit. And thinking about how I automatically thought that was a deficit instead of an asset. And how sometimes I need to go back and use the opportunity I have for professional development to, you know, confront some of my own bias and be able to address those and use them as learning opportunities to in turn see all the assets that could come from some of those deficits. And so I think sometimes it's just a change in mentality. So I thought that was super eye-opening. I thought it was really really a great opportunity for us as teachers to think about, you know, our professional development opportunities and looking at like, okay, when a student comes in with these set of skills, like, are they seen as assets or deficits, and how can we change that mentality to help support the students in their new English language acquisition? So I thought the article was really great, and I think it's really important to look at ourselves in our teaching and see how we can change that that thinking in the classroom. Secondly, Spanglish. I love Spanglish. I think it's great to see students switching from one language to the other and how they can just do it without even thinking. I see that as an absolute asset. The fact that they can do that, they're thinking in two languages, which is fascinating. And also they're using all of their language to be able to form or to be able to communicate, which I thought in itself says a lot. I also like the way that Dr. Johnson said that it's part of their identity, right? I think sometimes students students come from Spanish-speaking homes, but they have the mentality that they're kind of caught in the middle between two languages, right? And so giving them the opportunity to combine those two just shows how they can use both as an asset and as a form of communication. I also thought it was interesting, like all of his examples and how we drive by Spanglish every single day and we don't even realize it was Spanglish. Like I think I saw the Supermax sign and I started reading it and I'm like, ooh, that is Spanglish, but never, you know, as I've driven by it, I've been so used to seeing that I didn't even realize it was Spanglish. And so I thought it was interesting to see how some of us can see that as marked, however, some of us can see that as unmarked. But I also am interested in figuring out more ways that I could take Spanglish and use that to help with English language acquisition, getting some of those strategies around Spanglish and how students use both languages to communicate and how we can use that as a strength to help students acquire another language. So that's pretty interesting and fascinating to me too. But I think it's a great thing. I think it's exciting for students to see it celebrated and acknowledged because I think it just helps them feel like their language choices are being celebrated. So I thought it was really great.